Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lukáš Levák. I'm Director of R&D Department at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports, based here in Czechia, in Prague. And I'm very pleased to welcome you here at the opening session of the 2022 edition of the EOSC Symposium. As you know, this EOSC Symposium is the very first one which is held in person after the pandemic wave, and hopefully we will only have more opportunities to meet physically in person in the future without any further pandemics. I'm very pleased to pass the floor right now for the opening to Mr. Vladimír Balaš, who is Minister of Education, Youth and Sports of Czechia, and he's very glad to be the local host of this EOSC Symposium this year. Vladimír, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the invitation, and let me start. Esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me warmly welcome you to Prague and the Czech Republic, which has the privilege to host the European Open Science Cloud Symposium in 2022. And I'm very pleased that we have such a large audience attending this event in person, bringing together policymakers, researchers, research infrastructure and e-infrastructure operators, and many other stakeholders. The EOSC Symposium is the leading EOSC annual conference, which is usually held as a tripartite event, participated by the European Commission, the EOSC Association, and the EU member states and associated countries. And it goes without saying that this year's conference will not be an exception. It's not a pure coincidence that EOSC Symposium 2022 is being held here in the Czech capital. And as you certainly know, research infrastructures, including e-infrastructures and data infrastructures, belong among top priorities of the policy agenda of the Czech presidency of the Council of European Union. And in 2 weeks' time, the research formation of the EU Competitiveness Council shall adopt the Council conclusions on research infrastructures and thereby determine policy orientations to enhance the European research infrastructure ecosystem, including its data infrastructure component. Already 1 month ago, the Brno Declaration on fostering a global ecosystem of research infrastructures has launched at the International Conference on Research Infrastructures in Brno, and it stressed the importance of adding the global perspective to our European one. And you have also participated, at least some of you, as I understand. And against this background, the EOSC Symposium, organized under the auspices of the Czech presidency of the Council of the EU, belongs among the flagship events held and supported by the Czech presidency in the second semester of this year, and we are very proud to be the local host of it. The implementation of the EOSC initiative is a very topical issue for Czechia also, for other reasons. We have been strongly committed to the fair data concept, and our ministry, in close cooperation with relevant national stakeholders, has already prepared an architectural design of a Czech national data infrastructure whose implementation is already being executed. And in this regard, I'm very glad that the EOSC Symposium gives us the opportunity to share our national views with the EOSC stakeholders and learn more about good practices examples from other European countries. I've asked two of my colleagues to present you our national plans later as an integral part of the conference agenda, and they will also closely observe other countries' experiences to fine-tune our national Czech approach. Collecting, processing, storing, and providing access to scientific data in line with the FAIR data principles is one of the progressive trends of the European open science policy. And it is also why we shall place the ambition to make scientific data findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable very high on our agendas. And it is really quite important for all scientists and for all who are dealing with research and innovations also. And only if scientific data are fair, researchers may use them across a broad range of disciplinary domains as well as internationally. On the other hand, EOSC is a complex environment with European, national, and regional constituents that involves generic and thematic components with different levels of maturity and priorities, which places a number of challenges ahead of us. My sincere belief is that the EOSC Symposium will help address these critical issues and contribute to our joint European endeavor to build and operate the federated pan-European scientific data infrastructure. And I promised the organizers to be brief with my opening intervention, and I'm going to live up to that promise. Thus, having said that, I stop here and I thank you for your attention. And I would also like to thank my team for great organization effort, and they did really their best. And so I would like to wish you enjoy the conference and late autumn in Prague. Have a nice stay in Prague.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your kind words and for best wishes for a successful conference. Well, I already said that this EOSC Symposium is an yearly event, and I'm very glad that there is, as far as I'm informed, around 400 participants here in Prague, with much more watching the live web stream. So don't hesitate to intervene and engage in the conference program through the virtual platforms we are using, especially Slido. And I've been informed you already been briefed on your active participation and involvement in all the debates that will be held during those couple of days in Prague. It goes without saying that the EOSC Symposium is an event of a tripartite nature, which means that it brings together the representatives of the member states, the European Commission, and you, EOSC stakeholders. And as I said, we have a couple of hundreds of you here, and we are very glad that the European Commission largely supported this year's edition of the EOSC Symposium, and therefore I'm very pleased that the next speaker on our program will be Commissioner Maria Gabriel. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to come to Prague in person, but Maria pre-recorded a brief video message. So now I pass the floor to the director of our conference program to upload this message.
Dear Minister Vladimir Balas, dear representatives of European Trio of Presidencies, dear research community, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to address you at the European Open Science Cloud Annual Symposium. Digital technologies have an incredible impact on research, from even more advanced measurement technologies to experimentation using advanced simulation and visualization. The EOSC initiative has been a driver on disseminating the use of advanced digital technologies and infrastructures to support the work of our researchers. You were fast in anticipating the need to develop and maintain the tools for data-rich science. The recently established European COVID-19 data platform, as part of the ERA versus Corona action plan, is a striking example. And now we need to answer to challenges. Challenges like how to establish mechanisms and cultures in different scientific areas, how to share data and communicate among peers. I invite all of us to see the digital transformation as an opportunity to moving progressively towards a culture of openness and collaboration that incentivizes research quality, societal impact, and public trust in science. It is an important message to young researchers that are digital natives. This opportunity leverages open science to improve the way we work, keeping the incentives to strive for excellence. The new European Research Area Policy Agenda puts high in the agenda the willingness to work with member states, research organizations, universities, and the research community. We need to work together towards enabling the open sharing of knowledge and the reuse of research outputs, including through the development of the European Open Science Cloud. With Horizon Europe, the Commission is walking the open science talk by embracing the principles of findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. There is, however, as demonstrated by recent surveys, the need to further disseminate how to implement fair data approaches amongst the research community. For example, cross-border data access in the clinical context showcases the need to support community efforts to develop data based on fair data and services. It is important for me to include a strong link to education and call for a key role of universities so that our efforts include the development of practices and skills needed to fully engage with open science. We have the means to be ambitious. I'm happy that with our joint efforts, through the Horizon Europe partnership, we'll support EOSC with cumulated investments reaching €1 billion by 2030. This EOSC Symposium is a very good occasion to gather multiple experiences, to identify priorities and concrete actions to develop a European science, research and innovation data space. My final words are to thank the support from the Czech presidency to pave the way to an open science European research area. I wish you a very fruitful event.
Thank you very much, Madam Commissioner, even though only virtually, and greetings to Brussels. So after the openings by Minister Vladimír Balaš and by Commissioner Maria Gabriel, we will be proceeding with the conference program with a high-level panel debate, which will focus on the national plans, how to tackle the challenges that are related to the implementation of the EOSC initiative in a number of European countries. So we'll be focusing on a national perspective right now. And I'm very pleased to welcome here Anna Panagopoulou, who is Director for Research and Innovation at the European Commission, and who is going to moderate this panel and take over on behalf of the European Commission. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucas. And good morning to everybody, and it's a great pleasure for me to be with you today. Not just because it's Prague, and I love Prague, not just because it's an excellent organization, but there is a great purpose behind what we have to do today. And we have been discussing over a few years about EOSC. I was just asking my colleagues this morning to refresh my mind when EOSC started. So it started actually in 2016 with the Council conclusions under the Dutch presidency on open science. It continued in 2017 with a strong call for expression of interest from the Commission side for member states and stakeholders to participate to the EOSC. And then we had the Council conclusions on 2018 under the Austrian presidency. Then we have a series of projects financed under Horizon Europe between 2018 and 20. And then what we had the data strategy, where we managed from the Commission side to put EOSC in. Then we had the new European research area, a very important policy agenda for research and innovation, and the COVID crisis, where we had also the opportunity for the first time to demonstrate that what we put on policy side, what we discuss with the member states and stakeholders, actually it could be demonstrated. And of course, because the project approach was not the appropriate, probably, to steer such an ambitious project, we put in place the new partnership. So we are here where we have plenty of elements in place. Member states and Commission, they are working together. Thank you very much for your message, dear Minister. We had the communities working together in the association, so 3 partners ready to deliver EOSC, and what we discussed today in the closed session that we had, ready to deliver EOSC with a concrete outcome by 2025, where we can demonstrate the added value for EOSC, which is important for all of us. And then we are ready to deliver the EOSC by 2027, and we were thinking about the future of EOSC. So the first session of today, which I'm very happy to chair and to moderate, is about what member states have done so far on EOSC, what they have committed, how they see the importance of the project, and maybe a little bit reflect on what they expect in the future, whereas the second session that I'm going to chair today is presentation from the 3 main parties, basically the Commission, the steering board of EOSC, where it's co-chaired by the member state together with the Commission and the EOSC Association, on what achieved up to now, because if we want to think about the future, we need to make sure that achievements are there and concrete, and then what are the plans for 2023. So with these words, you know this session is going to be virtual. So technically, I'm at the hand of the director of organizing this event. So we are going to have with us, it's virtual or on the spot, sorry, now I'm a bit confused. Per-Erik Uveke? Inve is virtual, okay. Per-Erik, good morning, nice to see you. Then we are going to have from the French side, Cyril Moulin, the head of Research and Innovation Strategy Department and Deputy Director General for Research and Innovation, the French Ministry of Higher Education and Research, where Per-Erik is the Deputy Director General for the Research Policy Unit at the Ministry of Education and Research. And finally, we are going to have with me today here, and so that I don't feel alone, Jan Hurzak, who is the Special Envoy in the for Research Infrastructures in the Czech Ministry for Education. Please, Jan, join me. And with these words, can I move here? Yes. I suggest that we start, first of all, with a statement from Per-Erik, and then from Cyril, and last but not least, by Jan, before we have an open debate with questions from people participating to this meeting, but also from Slido, because as I said, this is a hybrid meeting, and you have the opportunity for those that we are following us virtually to ask questions. So with these words, I would like to give the floor to Per-Erik.
Thank you very much, dear Commissioner, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to join you here today at the EOSC Symposium 2022. I regret not being able to join you in person in Prague. However, it's a great pleasure to virtually share with you some of the Swedish perspectives on EOSC policies and implementation. Let me start by saying a few words about open science. I'm sure we all share the same view of the significance of open science for research itself, and also that open science is an important democratic principle. Open access to research results enables more researchers to validate, reuse, and further develop previous research results. This is vital as it contributes to maintaining and promoting excellence in science and a strong research integrity. Also, we need research-based facts and knowledge that are available and usable in society at large if we want to effectively respond to our global challenges, both now and for future generations. Therefore, open science has been encouraged by the Swedish government for many years now. Since 2016, a national goal for open access exists. During these years, many stakeholders, may it be founders, universities, agencies, or other organizations, have been engaged and involved in taking open science further. This has been most welcome and gratifying. To strengthen and support the work in Sweden, the National Library, as well as the Swedish Research Council, holds the government's assignment to nationally coordinate, support, and monitor open access to publications and research data. Also, the National Library recently was assigned by the government to develop national policy guidelines for open science. In parallel, universities in Sweden are asked to continue to develop open science. The Swedish Research Council is a member of the EOSC Association and has been appointed as a mandated organization by the Swedish government. The development of EOSC is relevant to Sweden's work on open access to research data in several ways. Research data that are fair makes it possible for individual researchers to continue building on previous research. In this way, research moves forward and new advances can be achieved. Several public organizations in Sweden, Research Council and universities contribute towards open and fair research data. All of these contributes with an important basis for the government to support the transition to open science and the implementation of EOSC. Allow me to highlight one of the most prominent examples of Sweden's commitment to EOSC, the COVID-19 platform. During the pandemic, Sweden was first in Europe to launch a national data portal for research on COVID-19, run by SciLife Lab, and the Swedish Research Council was assigned by the government to represent Sweden and to coordinate the work nationally. Certainly, there are challenges in the transition to open science and the implementation of EOSC. Therefore, collaboration is key. Only with shared efforts and engagement by all involved actors in the research system, we can meet and solve these challenges. I think there's much to gain in seeing EOSC as a vital link between open science and research infrastructures. Access to research infrastructures is of course central to produce high quality research. Sweden has made major investments in research infrastructures. For example, European Spallation Source, MAX4 and SciLife Lab. We need now to enable a broader group of actors to take advantage of the opportunities that exist with research infrastructures and to strengthen collaboration and innovation. This highlights the importance of e-infrastructure for research data. Data-driven research and innovation demands robust e-infrastructure to manage and analyze large datasets and contributes to increased societal benefits, cost effectiveness, and strengthen competitiveness. To conclude, wouldn't it be brilliant if the word open in EOSC truly would illustrate how science, as open as possible and as close as necessary, is being shared and made accessible not only within the research community, but also to the public sector at large, as well as to partners from the commercial sector that are dedicated to open science. Put simply, the EOSC ecosystem as a public good. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Pierre-Ric, and I'll keep what you said at the very end, that we have to put EOSC as a public good. So it's something for the public, it's something for the researchers, but it's also beyond the researchers. Sweden has a very good experience with the COVID-19 platform. Its data is about interoperability, access, and it is digital. And it's about research infrastructure. So all these components working together, putting them together to deliver EOSC is very important. Thank you very much once again, Pierre-Eric. And then I would like to pass the floor to Cyril Moulin. I hope Cyril can hear us and can see us. Yes, very good. Good morning, Cyril. So this is your time now to make your statement for your vast experience also, not just from EOSC itself, but also maybe from the French presidency, that you did, I have to say, a lot of work in the context of open science and EOSC as well. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Anna. Dear colleagues, thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this EOSC Symposium, and I'm very sorry not being with you today in the beautiful city of Prague. Let me first congratulate the Czech Ministry for organizing this important event under the Czech presidency of the Council of the European Union. We see throughout the program of this symposium, and Commissioner Gabriel pointed this out already, the rapid evolution of the European Open Ocean Science Cloud as experienced since the meeting in Budapest in 2019. The tripartite governance between European Commission, EOSC Association, and the member states and associated countries ensures that all stakeholders have a voice and can influence how EOSC is moving forward. And we certainly need more fair data and services sharing and more engagement in open science to tackle the challenges of nowadays research. The EOSC is fully aligned with the French strategies on digital transition and on open science. EOSC is part of our open science strategy, the French National Plan for Open Science, which explicitly encourages the structuration of the French research landscape along with the EOSC. We also underline the importance of the EOSC infrastructure to support open science in the context of our national strategy on data, algorithms, and source codes. Open science needs services and infrastructures, but it also needs skills and knowledge to facilitate the whole research data life cycles, as well as capacity to host services and data. France supports the view of the EOSC as the overarching transverse European data space for research. As you probably know, there are emerging thematic European data spaces. Aligning these thematic data spaces with the EOSC will be crucial in order to avoid reinventing solutions that EOSC already provides. In France, we firmly stand behind the goal to make open science the new normal. Under the French presidency of the European Council, the 27 countries have unanimously agreed to Council conclusions on research assessment, open access to publication, and multilingualism. This is a major step for a converging international agenda toward open science. At the Open Science European Conference that took place in February this year, we concluded with the Paris call on research assessment. We called for the creation of a coalition of research funding organizations, research performing organizations, and assessment authorities, willing and committed to reform the current research assessment system along commonly agreed objectives, principles, and actions. This coalition, the COARA, is now in place. The EOSC activities are coordinated at national level by the Collège EOSC France, with participation of our ministry and all 28 French organizations that are members or observers of the EOSC Association. This national initiative is part of the comitology in France to ensure the necessary steps in the digital transition in the research domain, which include the commitment to open science. France is also supporting the infrastructures necessary to make the EOSC happen. In the last edition of our national strategy for research infrastructures, we identified 5 national infrastructures that are the backbone for computing, data processing, and data transfer in France, as well as 6 other infrastructures which are specifically crucial for scientific information sharing. Our ministry supports these infrastructures through a number of programs of the France 2030 investment program that provides about 140 million euros into EOSC-relevant infrastructures. It cannot be underlined enough that EOSC not only relies on policies and on the willingness of research performing organizations to produce fair research data, but it also requires infrastructures, hardware, and human resources dedicated to these tasks. In the context of assisting the development of the so-called long tail of science, the Minister Sylvie Retailleau has launched this year Recherche Data Gouv to help research teams manage their data and make them fair. Associated data management clusters are located near research teams and provide initial expertise in managing research data. It also offers a sovereign multidisciplinary repository for publishing datasets and a registry of data that are already available in established thematic repositories, either in France or abroad. Last but not least, if we want to progress toward open science, we need to measure how well we are doing, both at the national and European level. The French Open Science Monitor has been developed to measure the progress of open science in France. We thus welcome the effort to monitor the evolution of EOSC, and extending this system to all aspects of open science is indeed very timely. The success of EOSC will also strongly depend on sharing the experience between countries and between research performing organizations to implement best solutions, and the monitoring will foster this exchange. To conclude, I would remind that EOSC needs a strong commitment to achieve the necessary cultural change and to provide the required data, services, and infrastructures. This EOSC Symposium will demonstrate the engagement of a large number of research performing organizations, of the member states and associated countries, and of the European Commission. It will also highlight some of the impressive progresses achieved in the context of EOSC. We need these best practices to learn from each other and to justify the investment into the EOSC in order to make the web of fair research data and services a reality. With this, I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a very fruitful symposium. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cyril. I think you brought on the table new aspects like the Paris call for the coalition for the research assessment. So I think it's very much interrelated to what we are doing in the context of open science and EOSC. You brought the issue of the importance of the data spaces and how it will be possible to have this collaboration between the thematic data spaces and the work we are doing in EOSC. And also you brought very important aspects like how important it is to be able to monitor what we are doing, to report on what we are doing, and to convince that there are results coming out of that. And therefore, there is an added value and still need for investment and commitment from all sides, strong commitments, and collaboration at European level between public organizations, public authorities, researchers, but also at international level. Thank you for these words. And last but not least, Jan, we have been working together, I think, the last years, not only on EOSC, on the research infrastructure and other areas. So please, your thoughts about EOSC and the Czech plans.
Thank you, Anna. It's indeed a pleasure to see so many familiar faces here in the room. And after this COVID break, I really enjoy that we can meet and speak together again. And without any further delay, I will just somehow swimmingly continue on what the minister has said. And you have seen from his speech that EOSC and the open science principles really enjoy huge political support here in the Czech Republic. And I will very briefly indicate how we in the Czech Republic feel about EOSC and which immediate steps we are planning. It will be really just an indication because in the other talks today and tomorrow, you will hear more concrete examples, projects, and plans we have here in the Czech Republic. We firmly believe that, similarly to others, the open science concept is really transforming the way how research is done, how researchers create, share, and exploit the research results, being it their data, publications, protocols, softwares, methodologies, and so on. We also firmly believe that a huge added value is that these outputs of research can be broadly shared within and across scientific communities, scientific disciplines. We really appreciate how this open science principles lead to better quality of research, to validation of research results, to higher productivity of research work in a very interdisciplinary way of performing new research methodologies and developing on those. And finally, we also believe that this entire endeavor, these open science principles are really a contribution to more innovation and to economic growth finally. And therefore, the measures we have introduced here in the Czech Republic are related to that. We see benefits not only for researchers to whom this concept provides a regulated, secure environment, but we see really a value for the society at large, for the general public, and also for the private sector, as it has been mentioned by the speakers earlier. You may know that in the Czech Republic, we have taken a strategic, holistic approach to research innovations, and in particular to research infrastructures, of which the data and e-infrastructures are an indispensable component. So we in that sense, believe that the ecosystem of EOSC, or EOSC is providing, represents a real data space for science, for research, for innovation, and this is articulated in the strategy we have taken in the Czech Republic on open data. We also have decided to build a horizontally interconnected and interoperable national ecosystem of research and data infrastructures, again, e-infrastructures included, which then allows a easy federation to a higher level to the European scale and makes straight connections to the EOSC as it is planned and implemented at the European level. This means we are really keeping standards that have been developed at the European scale, and this we try to implement and complement with rules and engagement that are adjusted to national needs. And this all shall enable a seamless access to reliable use and reuse of research and outputs, and this includes also those outputs that are really and directly related to research infrastructure, because the connection between EOSC and research infrastructures is, in my view, really fundamental for the success of the implementation of the entire concept. Based on this, we have decided to build and finance a development of a Czech national data infrastructure, and the minister said that this process is already in its beginning of implementation, and this structure is supposed to be implemented along the concept that has been developed at the European level, and thus we are not afraid that we will not be fulfilling the conditions to be easily federated with the European Open Science Cloud when once existing. The process was, as usual, nothing withstanding here, was accompanied by a very broad consultation campaign with the engagement of a number of stakeholders. We are building on the experience with the Czech research infrastructure ecosystem and the experience research infrastructures themselves have gathered when contributing at various levels to the European research open science concept. We have established this concept, and it will be implemented with the help of the European structural and investments funds. We are utilizing the opportunities under the umbrella of the operational program Johannes Amos Comenius for the current financial period, and we have prepared a series of complementary calls that are addressing both the research and the data infrastructures. The budget allocation for upgrades of research infrastructures and for the national implementation of the EOSC initiative is rather large. In my view, the envelope is somewhere close to 350 million for the next 5 years. And we intend to build within this investment, as said, a national repository platform that shall provide capacity through access to common data infrastructure services, and this infrastructure shall have the attributes to fulfill standards of the pan-European EOSC so that it can be easily federated. We also plan to support an establishment of thematic repositories in major scientific domains and support those already existing and ongoing activities in this domain that are now mainly implemented by research infrastructures. We also intend to create a national metadata directory which will be the key component guaranteeing findability and interoperability of the stored data. And all this shall be centrally managed, even so with a strong bottom-up component. And it is meant to create a really national ecosystem that integrates data e-infrastructure with research infrastructures and with the scientific communities at also institutional level. Therefore, for the governance of this rather complex system, we have established last year a coordination body, a coordination committee for national EOSC implementation in the Czech Republic as a high-level coordination platform driven by the ministry and with the engagement of all the major stakeholders. This committee is composed of two important players, which are our integrated e-infrastructures under the umbrella of e-infra-CZ, the Czech National E-Infrastructure and the National Technical Library, but also other stakeholders like the Academy of Sciences, the Czech universities, our funding bodies are engaged, and also the Council for Research and Innovation is on board. So with all these measures, we hope that we can, first of all, document how deeply committed we are to the open science concept, to the EOSC implementation, and we believe that with all this investment, the Czech Republic is ready to become a valuable member of the EOSC community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan, and I see your passion about EOSC. You're passionate about research infrastructures, and actually your intervention makes me link a little bit what it was said by the previous speakers, but how important is to share best practices and experience between member states, because you're going to build up a data set, as you said, the national database according to EOSC principles. I'll call it like this. And you said also that you would like to put together the research infrastructures to deliver that. And I think it is, and to have a national platform to provide services. So actually you are going to develop, in my understanding, a kind of a national EOSC according to the principles of EOSC, which I think is something that I believe is very important to share with other member states and the communities, and to see how all together we establish this federated system, because it is about the federation. And you said that we are ready to connect once EOSC exists. In my view, EOSC exists. Probably does not exist in the sense of the EOSC pan-European system yet, because we need to have the federation, but the developments in each of the member states is part of the EOSC. So basically, we are building up EOSC together, including the national data sets. I will see it like that. So we have about less than half an hour on interventions. I call it interventions or questions and answers. I think that Cyril is still with us. Pierre-Eric had to leave. So before I ask for interventions from the audience here or virtually, before I ask for the slide, I would like, please keep Cyril all the time on the spot so that we have a kind of a feeling that we are all together. And I would like to ask Cyril, I hope it's not very difficult to reply to what I'm asking. It is exactly, you are coming from the ministry in the top management position. How challenging you think it is to convince France to continue their strong commitment to EOSC, because there is a strong commitment. How challenging you think it is under the current circumstances, and what would you expect from the community? I mean, administrations, the community are working on EOSC in order to help you to your task and job.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. It's not such an easy question, but I'm going to try to answer. Actually, I guess the challenge is not to convince the ministry to be involved in open science and all the context we have. Maybe I would say the biggest challenge is to make EOSC real and actually to give it some body, and that's something we have to succeed in collectively, all together, to make EOSC something that everybody knows, and because I guess we have, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in most countries. We all have a national strategy on open science and so on, infrastructures, as we said before. But maybe we have to create EOSC and make it a strong something. And that's probably the major challenge we have to facing. But I'm really sure that, I mean, it's so obvious that we need EOSC that I'm not afraid by that, but it's something we have to work on.
Thank you. So to be able to demonstrate EOSC, to show this is EOSC, and then everything will follow. And thank you very much for your confidence to the work. Jan, the same question to you. What is the biggest challenge?
Yes, the biggest challenge indeed is to make EOSC used by all the scientific communities to that extent that it is filled up with useful data that can be then further exploit. And this is as I said, this is really a challenge, because the readiness for data sharing in different scientific communities is different, and one needs a lot of communication and very good arguments to convince the communities that these principles of data sharing, of openness, is very beneficial for their work, and that this concept of data sharing can really bring them forward and help them in executing, in doing the research.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to inform, for those that they don't know, that there is a series of tripartite events that they are organized at national level for all the communities to try to pass the messages. And yesterday, at our closed session, Karel informed us from the association that we have already approached 16 member states through these tripartite events. And I would like to welcome any member state or any group of member states that they would like to continue organizing these events, because I do believe they're very important. So, we have questions or interventions on the spot and virtually. And first of all, I would like to ask, because we heard the 3 presidencies, but there are other representatives from member states here, and colleagues that they have been very active in the area of the EOSC. So first of all, I would like to ask if anyone from the room, whether you're coming from member states or from the research communities, you would like to take the floor, either to ask a question or to share your experience from activities at national level. I will be provocative. Stefan.
Thank you, Anna. I don't want to be the first here, but first of all, let me thank you both here in the audience and also in the digital audience about the experiences you have explained to us. And it was quite impressive also to see how the Czech Republic is developing. And I know Jan and most of his team since long years. And I've seen how they speeded up this rather difficult process. To come to Austria, yes, we are a small member country of the European Union, and also luckily we're involved in the developments of EOSC at the right early time point. I guess it was in the year 17. And we had the opportunity during the Austrian presidency to launch also the first governance structure of what we called at that time EOSC. And when I look at the developments, not only in Austria, but also together with my colleagues, it was or is quite impressive what has been achieved at the moment. For the Austrian point of view, this launch of the governance structure gave us, let's say, a big spin. Also to ask the question, what can we provide for this, under brackets, EOSC? And I can remember when we had the first meeting also with the European Commission, we ended up in a discussion where we said that we have to ask the question, what can we provide for the EOSC to make it real? This was the first point, turning point, and then anything else came together with the community, because it was from the beginning a community-driven thing. It was not something which was invented on a desk in Brussels. And to come up to the recent developments, yes, we organized ourselves. It is the community which was rather active in this. They also organized themselves in what we call the Austrian EOSC Support Office, which is a structure which is similar to other structures in Europe, like Sweden has it, and the Czech Republic, and Hungary, and Germany, Belgium, and so on. So when I'm talking about the developments of Austria, I have to mention all my colleagues around me, because this is also, I think, a very intrinsic fact of EOSC, that we do not do these things nationally or alone. It is always connected to the developments beyond the borders. Because at the current time point of view, nobody in this room can talk about solely done activities around EOSC only on a national perspective, which is, I guess, the big advantage. And let me also point out that the activities with our support office, with our EOSC wiki, and with our open forum we call the EOSC Cafe. These are only the working tools for what we want to achieve. And I think it's a very positive development to see that each member state country has its own solution to this, but at the end, we're doing all the same. And to sum it up, I think the EOSC process, right from 2016 to now, has shown that this, let's say, this process is in various levels existing. And coming back to your comment where you said that the EOSC, is it existing or not? Of course it is existing, because we have member states, all the European member states, they have put it, EOSC, in their policies, in their politics, even stronger. So it is a common sense. We have this EOSC Commons at the moment, which is rather important. On the technical point of view, there are big challenges in front of us, but this is why we call it a process. So this will never end. As far as I can see now, there are solutions. There are many solutions, also for the federation of the infrastructures, also for the scope, so to say, that we finally want to have a worldwide web of fair data and services. And the pieces, the bricks, they're existing. And next step is just to combine them.
Thank you very much, Stefan, and thank you for the positive message about the development over the last years, because I arrived somewhere in the middle, but you have been there before and you have seen all these developments. And also I would like to take what you said, that EOSC exists, political commitment exists, but I think we have also to demonstrate with the new developments that we are going to put in place. I'm thinking about the new platform, I'm thinking about the basic repositories at the European national level, that EOSC is also there and could be used. So before I turn to anybody else in the room, I see that there are some questions on Slido, which, Sarah, I cannot read them, I have to say, where they are. So I need your help. Are there any recurrent questions?
One question about what are the concrete results that we can expect by 2025?
By 2025, yes.
Yes. And also there is another question about how should we work strategically to facilitate open science as a whole, connected information system, in order to avoid the fragmentation silos between all these aspects.
Good. Not easy questions. We had, of course, a lot of a thorough discussion about what we can expect by 2025. There is a strategic agenda. There is strategic research and innovation agenda with the steps. But maybe I would like to ask Jan. I could provoke Jan. You have been working. So what we could expect by 2025?
I mean, this question is indeed not easy, because the concept of EOSC still needs an alignment between the top-down intentions and the bottom-up, in principle, needs of the communities, and we still see a certain gap between these two directionalities. So there certainly will be a closer alignment. There will be more and more communities convinced that EOSC is contributing to their scientific work. It will induce changes in, let's say, interinstitutional culture. Certainly this goes very fast. There will be quite some progress at the let's say, level of real stages of implementation of data and e-infrastructures. There will certainly be further integration and federation at the above national level, but I'm afraid there still will be a lot of work left and to be done.
So, of course, there are some plans that are in the pipeline. First of all, the idea to procure the main platform for services at European level, which I hope, I mean, I'm looking at Tobias, by what we expect from the platform by 2025, more or less. To be starting to be established, or?
Well, to say the contract is expected to be signed next year with
Yeah.
a duration of 36 months. So
Okay.
by 2025, there should be already something. But of course, the full, let's say, full package is expected after 36 months only.
Okay, very good. And then we are going to have a European repository for data for those from the program that they don't have a place to put their data. We are going to have the national activities. You just said, I don't know exactly your planning for the national activities, but I assume there will be national activities in order to organize and arrange the data going to EOSC. And what we do at political level, we will try also to see how we deal with the commercial aspects, the commercial clients of EOSC in order to go beyond the researchers. We are going to develop a catalog on how data could become EOSC, and this is what it comes in my mind. So there are a lot of things, bits and pieces, that we have to put together in order to have some concrete demonstration and a minimum EOS capabilities to be able to show by 2025. So this is where I would say that we have to be. And what was the second question?
The second question was how we can work strategically to avoid silos and really to facilitate open science as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Cyril, would you like to come up with some ideas of how we can avoid silos, either thematic silos, member state silos, community silos?
This is a tough question. So the problem of silos is the worst thing that might happen, but we need silos at the beginning. Generally, to start something, you need to work on subjects and topics, and then build all these silos. But I don't know. It's hard for me to tell what has to be done to avoid silos. But yeah, that's something we really need to think about and trying to avoid too much. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I would like to complement what you said, Cyril, in the sense that at European level, we have put the partnerships where we have the three main partners, which is the policymakers from the Commission side, from member state side, and the communities through the association. So the key actors around the table. We have, of course, the research infrastructures. Not all of those are part of the tripartite partnership. They are important actors. So the collaboration between what we are doing in EOSC and with the research infrastructures communities, with the ESFRI, with the research infrastructure policy has been established as well. So trying not to isolate the one activity from the other. And I assume that at national level, something similar should be done. So in effort to bring together around the same table and share information about the activities, in particular also with the approach on data spaces, because one main risk that we discussed also is that while we advance the data spaces, how we ensure that the spirit and standards of EOSC are also transposed to those data spaces, and how we make sure that the research data that are under EOSC will be connected together with the other data under the data spaces. So indeed, a lot has been put on the table, and the partnership itself would help, I believe, to avoid the silos. So this is, Jan, I see you were thinking of.
Actually, I have not to say anything that's very fancy and strategic, but along with all the instruments you've rightly depicted, I believe there is one component that shall be emphasized. And I'm not a linguist, but for me, silos and openness are opposite sides of an axis along which we develop. And for me, then communication is the key for integration. So better understanding, really integration through self-convincing communication between the different bodies. This might be horizontal, this might be vertical, this might have a scientific dimension, this might have a political dimension of the dialogue. And with this communication, we certainly can help to move forward.
Okay, thank you. I think Giorgio would like to take the floor. And Giorgio, when you take the floor, I'll ask you also one question from the Slido. So you will intervene, and then my question to you from Slido, because I know you are very active on that, is to tell us how can we motivate researchers to share the data and utilities and utilize the existing one. Sorry.
Okay. Yes, EOS exists. Italy has published this year a national plan for open science that mentioned EOSC and the data sharing. Italy is carrying out its national recovery and resilience plan with the huge investments. A large fraction goes directly into data infrastructures, and all infrastructure have the data chapter. So these exist, but exist, let me say provocatively, up to now mostly as a technocratic operation than a research-driven operation. And we have to add that dimension, otherwise we will not have with us the research community. So one instrument that we have, and I think we could interrogate, is the missions. Missions have been started by the Commission on broad topics, and they definitely need to access data from different sources. So are the missions finding major difficulties? Are the missions having big success? So we have to monitor that, because that is an instrument that is ongoing, and it may feed back to us interesting information about the opportunity, the success, the hurdles, the things that EOSC should overcome to make it a broad, useful tool for researchers. So EOSC needs to get something operational before 25, so that researchers start to see that something new for them, something that corresponds to their curiosity-driven nature is available, start to be available. But also we should incentivize projects that shall be based on using different sources of data. As they exist today, there are some almost fair data sets, and there are some intermediately fair data sets, and if they start to be used to address complex questions that require data from very different sources and different communities who generated them, then there will be a scientific advantage well understood by the scientific community and by the researchers, and the researchers will be supporting that. Last aspect is develop quickly concepts and prototypes for fair by design production. Automatic production of fair data will convince researchers that it's a way to contribute to build up this big treasure of open data without, that will be the best reward. Their laboratory, their repositories, their observatories will be upgraded, becoming automatically producers of fair data. I think these are all hooks that will, to which the researchers will be sensible.
Thank you very much, Giorgio. And here I would like to say there is one question which I cannot see anymore on the Slido, but it was about elaborate more about the concrete results by 2025. I'm not going to do it now because we have a session later on what has been achieved by all the three partners of this collaboration. I expect you also to try to elaborate a little bit more detail. What are the expectations for deliverables by 2025? And also another question that I see here is the task for the next group. Who is the customer for these results by 2025? So you can already start reflecting, those that you're going to do the presentation, and to address those two questions. Still, we have let's say 2-3 minutes. So I would like to ask whether there is anybody else in the room that would like to take the floor and intervene to these very interesting discussions. Yes, please.
Jan Bjarli, based at the University of Oslo, working for the eBrains research infrastructure, which was part of the S3 roadmap last year. I just had a comment to this little bit waterfall thinking, moving forwards to the next 3 years and saying, what will we get there then? Another more positive approach would be to say that, for example, we have more than 20 life science research infrastructures that are working today, and they are also now embedded in EOSC. I think they are making wonderful progress year by year. So I would encourage everyone to think more about what do we achieve each year or in each shorter time period, and be very concrete on that, and also be a bit more optimistic on that. The other comment I had was regarding this situation with the national infrastructures and domain-specific ones. I must say I see a problem in having a number of different national infrastructures built up separately, then connected through EOSC. Wouldn't it be smarter to have more division of labor so that within the domain area, you would have some countries or some places that deals with particular aspects and are good at that at the European level, convincing the research councils nationally to take that responsibility instead of doing the whole 10, 15 times and connecting it through EOSC. The question comes particularly from the eBrains experiences. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So very good suggestions and thoughts that I see Jan already reflected. I don't think, Jan, we have the time to reply because probably it will be your personal view, but I would like to take with me this last point and to reflect in the group. One point to raise also in relation to the monitoring, of course, the idea, and we have done a lot of work already, is to put a very detailed monitoring system on how we deliver EOSC, and very soon we are going to have a platform where you would be able to be informed about the small steps and concrete steps that they are taking place in order to deliver EOSC. So, anybody else? I know that coffee break is around the corner and everybody's looking forward for that. If not, of course, during coffee break, you will have the opportunity to talk to Jan, unfortunately not to Cyril, but we have Volker with us, who is working with Cyril, and he will be able to reply or to chat on any aspects with you. And of course, I would like to thank both speakers, or the three speakers now that being with us today. And before I conclude, a last word from you, Cyril. Anything that it comes in your mind.
Do you hear me? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Maybe a thought about the question about the 2025 horizon. That my wish is that no one's left behind EOSC, and then EOSC must be the engine for open science and in Europe. So that's my wish.
Great, thank you, Cyril. We share the same wish. Jan?
I'm a very big fan of holistic and strategic planning, and so I would really like to see that EOSC is the initiator for scientific communities, for the different infrastructures, for the different bodies coming closer together and sharing a common space.
Great. So, EOSC is a European endeavor. It's an inclusive endeavor, and is something that it is a European startup that could be expanded to the whole world as well. Many thanks for this, and looking forward to see you at the next session. So we break up to 10:45.